The hour of 7 o'clock having arrived, I will call this meeting of the Community and Economic Development Authority to order. The first item on our agenda is a roll call. Joyce?
Mario Garcia. Mark Hamilton.
Here.
Dan Hardy.
Here.
Joe Maldonado.
Here.
Potts.
Here.
Jenny Sanders.
Here.
Randy Udall.
Here.
We have a quorum.
You want to do introductions for? We've got it's on the agenda. Don't worry, Mike. Yeah. It's number 5 on the agenda, Mike. We'll get to it. The next item on our agenda is the election of a chair. So as I believe everyone is aware, Jennifer has moved out of the city and is thus no longer eligible to be a member of CETA. So we would need to elect a new chair for the remainder of her term. So at this point, I would open the floor to any nominations for the position of chair of CETA.
Nominating Potts. Second.
You can't do it.
So I.
Because he's term limited out.
Since I had the 2 prior terms to Jennifer.
But it's not as if there's somebody in between, so it's actually 2 terms, number of terms.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So what does it
Yeah.
say? What's the order?
Yeah.
It says
I'll pull it up.
that you can serve 2 terms in a row, but then you have to let somebody else in.
I think it's better written.
Well, that's my online attorney opinion. Are you offering to chair, Dan?
No, because I served about 14 terms.
Well, I know, and we were okay.
If Andy is prohibited, I sure shall. Jennifer's just too new, we don't even know her yet, so. Then I nominate Mark.
Second.
I just have a question. How long what's the rest of the term left?
Would be through to the first meeting after the next election.
Yeah.
So it would be
So May, probably.
through the May meeting.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I move that the nominations be closed.
Okay. I actually see no other nominations on the floor. If Mark's okay with serving as CETA chair through May.
Sure. I'll be happy.
Okay.
Thank you.
See no further nominations. There has been a motion to close nominations. I will close that. And then all those in favor of Mark Hamilton serving as CETA chair, say aye.
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 Those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Congratulations, Mark. I will turn it back over to you now for item number 4.
Mark, can you move your microphone closer for me?
Sorry, I had it off. I got to get back to Joyce's agenda here. So
No worries. Do you want a paper copy?
Yeah, I have one if you need it.
I got it right here. I'm fine.
Okay.
So you want me to take over and run the meeting? Is that what you're saying? Okay. All right, we're going to go back to the, after roll call, election of chair, we need to elect a CETA member to the Housing Advisory Committee. And we'll open that up for nominations.
And Joyce, did you want to maybe, or someone briefly explain what the role is?
Yes,
Jennifer had
so
been doing
Jennifer served as we have one member on our Housing Advisory Committee from CETA, and Jennifer served in that role. That group meets quarterly, may have more meetings this year on Monday evenings, I believe at 5 o'clock, but we may be changing that too, just because there's other meetings. So basically what the Housing Advisory Committee does is they're really reviewing the housing plan, and then also working on some of the programming that we're doing. So I believe Jenny just offered. Would somebody like to make that as a?
I was going to recommend that we appoint Jenny, who we haven't been formally introduced to yet.
That's why I was
But
asking.
I would recommend that we appoint Jenny as that member to the CETA, if she would accept.
So moved.
Second. Will there any further discussion? Anyone else have an interest in serving on this August body? Hearing none, we'll move into selection process then. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Welcome. We have a new CETA member to this Housing Committee. Now we're going to move to the next thing is, Jenny, would you like to introduce yourself to the committee as a new member?
Sure. Hi, I'm Jenny Sanders. I think I know most of you, so I guess I'll just kind of say what I said the night I was confirmed. I've been a resident of Fitchburg for about 24 years, raised my kids here, and I own a marketing agency with my husband, and I'm also a realtor with First Weber. I'm just excited to be part of the committee here, and I guess the housing is going to be my interest here, so thank you for that. I don't know, does anyone have any questions for me? Or?
So I have a question. Just is she fulfilling she's filling Jennifer's term. Mm-hmm. How long does that run? Just to clarify.
I think it's kind of an annual
27.
appointment, isn't it?
Yeah.
For the housing advisory,
Okay.
Yeah.
for the housing advisory
Yeah.
committee.
That's fine. I just
Yeah.
wanted to understand how this is
Yeah.
shaping up. So, okay, thank you and welcome. You can see we're pretty informal.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you.
It's 7 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, it's early.
All right, the next item on the agenda will be the approval of the minutes from July 27th. And Joyce had attached them to your packet.
Motion to approve.
Is that you, Randy?
That is
Yeah,
Randy.
okay. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion to approve by Randy, seconded by Andy. And is there any further discussion on the minutes? Hearing none, we'll move to approve. Move to approval process. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, Mike and Joyce, your minutes are approved from July 27th. Next we have, are there any public appearances for non-agenda items? And
Nope.
I don't see anybody in the room.
Nope.
You got nobody on Zoom? Okay. Then we'll move on to the next thing. The next item is a resolution R-22823 to approve the Buxom Company master agreement with the city for economic development services. Who's taking lead there? Mike? Floor is yours.
This is the market research and data analytics software that we included in the 2023 budget. We've got $35,000 allocated to authorize and activate this subscription. We wanted to wait until we finished the 3 TID districts that we approved earlier this year, so that way, once we activated the software, we actually had the time to utilize it and kind of run market research and data analytic reports for it. So this is the contract, which would allow us to proceed with that activation of the software, and then that would continue for a year that we could utilize it. And how we're intending to, the kind of reports we're going to run are for some of the commercial space that's vacant in Fitchburg. We can actually run data and research reports for those specific sites that would give us kind of trade ring information. The other cool thing about it is we can go and look up like our Panera at Hatchery Hill, and we can see how our Panera is performing within the overall Panera portfolio nationwide. And I don't want to say too much on camera here, but when they demonstrated the software to us, we could compare our Panera to one on Junction Road and one on campus and kind of see how ours ranks and kind of performs. So that's some really good information for us as we're trying to encourage prospects to look at some of our commercial space that's available throughout our probably 3 north-south corridors. Earlier this week, we actually went on a market research trip for a particular restaurant that we would like to attract to Fitchburg. And that's going to be one of the first ones that we want to reach out to with some data and market research to try and pique their interest to take a look at Fitchburg. So we want to try this software for 1 year, kind of see what type of results it helps us to produce and prospects that it generates for us. Valerie, our city attorney, Valerie Zisman, has reviewed the contract and the appropriate and necessary edits were made. So we would ask for your consideration and approval of the contract, and then we'll activate the software and get started on running some reports.
Discussion on Mike's presentation.
I have a question. Mike, are there other entities like Buxton that offer similar services?
There's one that we used to use that was called, it was originally called Nielsen, and then, or Claritas, then it became part of the Nielsen family, but it's not to the level of this kind of data analytics. You know, every time now with our smartphones that we go somewhere, we're pinging, you know, they don't track us personally, you know, as Mike Zimmerman, but they track my phone, you know, where I've been shopping and, you know, dining and things like that. So all of that gets into that kind of, what do you call it, megadata or term there. And so I don't think Claritas and Nielsen is at that robust level where this one is. There's another company by the name of Placer that also is similar to this, but I don't know much about them. This is one that we made contact with probably at least 10 years ago when we first started the conversation, but we really didn't have the money available to request a subscription through our city budget. How this one's being funded is $15,000 through TID number 10, because we'll have commercial space available in the Fish Hatchery Road corridor. We've got $15,000 through TID number 13, which is in the Uptown neighborhood, as we try and drive commercial over there. And then we had $5,000 kind of coming out of the CETA budget as well. But this is the one that we kind of know the most about and vetted, and we think is the most robust for us to try.
And going forward, this is an annual subscription?
This would be for 1 year. We're just kind of trying it to see.
If you wanted to renew, what would the expense go up?
It could go up. Right now, this is their current rate, you know, for it, but we're really kind of doing it as a trial for 1 year to see if it produces results and what our return on investment is. And if it works and kind of generates prospects, we may, you know, come back and want to renew again, or, you know, maybe if it starts to produce results for some of our private sector development partners that we're actually helping to fill their space, you know, maybe there's a request that we go to them on a public-private partnership. But we want to try and drive some more retail commercial services, you know, to Fitchburg in the space that's becoming available. And then once we finish, as I talk later in the agenda on some projects we're working on, especially in Uptown with the Capstone project, as we get more space over there, that may kind of lead us in the direction of asking our private sector partners to maybe participate or split this cost if it's working mutually, if it's mutually beneficial for both of us.
Dan, I'm just going to add one thing. With the other programs, it was really kind of some really strict licensing too. We
Good
weren't
point.
allowed to like share the information that we have. But with our Buxton, we can run reports, we can give them to prospects, we can, I believe, post them on our website. So if I run an analysis for, say, just on restaurants, I can share that information where with some of the other software, it was...
For our eyes only.
Yeah, whatever you call that.
Proprietary.
Attorney-client privilege. How's that?
Well, when you share that information, you know, it's kind of like if you listen to a securities firm, past results are no guarantee of the future. So there's got to be some adequate disclaimer on the information that you're putting out so that there's no guarantee that can be taken from the information you give. You're just sharing information based on historical results from the surveys that are prepared for you by Buxton. They are
Is there further discussion on the resolution and the presentation from Mike and Joyce? I just have a comment, Mike. It looks like it's gone through the city approval process already. The mayor, Chad, you, and so it next goes to council after we approve. Is that correct? Just want to
Finance and
understand the
council.
process. Okay.
Finance and Council.
Okay,
Yep.
all right, okay. Is there any further discussion on the presentation and the resolution?
I'd make a motion to approve the resolution.
Second.
Second from Dan. Is there any further discussion on the resolution? All those in support of the resolution signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Oh, sorry. Opposed, same sign. Okay, you're ready to go. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
I got to go back to the agenda. Next on the agenda is the hotel room tax. And I think, Joyce, you sent something out. Is that correct? That the info, okay, Mike sent something out.
Yes. We've got the updated third quarter room tax has been collected here, and you can see under quarter number 3, it generated $183,275, approximately a 6.5% increase over the third quarter. So our room tax continues to rebound. Our high year again was 2019 pre-COVID, so we're rebounding nicely, and we'll be above that 2019 number there. And all the dollars that were earned have been collected per this report. Any questions on, there's no expenses at this point in time. We'll probably have some at the January meeting. We're sorting through some of our budget line items through the business luncheon, just because we probably expended a little more than we had expected, just because it was the first time we had it in 4 years. So we're checking with the finance department on some of our line items. So we'll be back to you because we purchased some extra promotional items that we handed out at the luncheon and that we wanted to have in our inventory in the retail department as well. But we'll be back to you on that in January.
Okay. Anything else? Anything else on that? Then move into, do you have development updates, Mike?
Yes.
Okay, we'll move into that.
So a couple of business updates. Encompass Health, the rehabilitation hospital at Fish Hatchery Road and Nobel Drive, had a great ribbon cutting and grand opening. Thanks to those of you that were able to join us for that. This week, on Monday, we added Jersey Mike Subs is open now at the Orchard Point development. So if you have a chance and are looking for a place for lunch, definitely stop over there. Great sub sandwiches. And then we've got the Learning Experience Daycare is under construction at Research Park Drive and Nobel Drive. So more child care and daycare capacity coming to Fitchburg, and that one's under construction. So we're excited about that. We're also working on, you might remember that the city of Fitchburg has been successful in getting 4 $1 million transportation economic assistance grants through WISDOT. And so we're working on, we were always the jobs guarantor of that $1 million grant, but it was the reporting before was handled directly between WISDOT staff and the company officials, in our case, currently Promega and Sub-Zero. The new team at WISDOT, that jobs reporting requirement is now part of Joyce and my responsibility to do that. So we're sorting that out with the companies right now. We've got 2 that are coming up. There's 2 intervals, a 3-year and a 7-year interval. So we've got a 3-year that's due for Lacey Road and Fahey Glen road projects, and then we got a 7-year that's due for Sub-Zero Parkway. And the most important item is on the 7-year one. We need to work with the company to have an independent CPA audit done and an attestation of those numbers. So we're currently working with Sub-Zero and their team at Baker Tilly to go through that process. And then once we get their report and attestation, then we as the city file ours as well. So a lot of work that's involved with it, but that's the process and the procedures going forward for the program. So we'll keep you posted on that one. But our companies are meeting the jobs numbers that were required for that $1 million grant and are actually exceeding the job numbers. So we're pleased to report that.
What was the jobs goal?
I don't have it off the top of my head here, but I'll bring that to the next meeting. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Because there's creation, but then there's also retention involved. Would you make a note, Joyce? I'll bring those numbers for the next meeting so we have it. Then the other thing that was launched this week on Monday, and I'm going to share my screen here. As you may remember, we have 2 neighborhood plans, FUDA areas. Is it showing up? There it is. So if you look on the screens there, the colored areas on the map are future urban growth areas that have been identified for places where we would look to expand our urban service area. The pink line is the current urban service area north of that. So we just launched recently with our planning colleagues, they're the lead on this, Deanna and her team, the South Stoner Prairie Neighborhood Plan, which is the blue one on the west side of Fitchburg. And then we've got the Greenfield Neighborhood Plan over here, kind of the rust-colored one along Highway 14. So there was a public information meeting in this room started on Monday night, and then they broke out for the respective neighborhood plans to talk in more detail on that. So that process will continue through the second half of 2024, and then once we complete that, then we'll be going forward to CARPC, hopefully for some urban service area extension requests. And this is to provide more land for growth and development in Fitchburg in the respective school districts that we're a part of. We're in desperate need of not only new land for residential subdivisions, but we are also in need of land for business and industrial, especially larger tracts of land when we talk about business and industrial for it. So just want to kind of keep you apprised of that process so you can follow along as it continues through the public process there.
Mike, this is like nitpicky, but I think you might want to update your map to account for the Edgewood property that was put into the urban service area.
That one shows up on our future land use map, but not on the FUDA map.
Okay.
Okay, because it's not a...
That's the original, okay.
Yeah. Okay. So if I would flash up the future land use, there it does show up. Yep.
Okay.
And there's
So
actually...
it's just nitpicky.
Yep.
But
There's actually 2 on there as you go to the future land use map, because the other one that shows up that's not on this one either is the area that the Oregon School District, the land that they purchased south of Highway 14, east of County Trunk Highway MM for it. Okay, so those are the neighborhood plans. Then the next thing I just wanted to share is I mentioned that we're working on a capstone project. We were selected, we submitted an application with our planning colleagues and were selected through the UW Planning and Landscape Architecture program. And it's basically an opportunity to kind of update and refresh the visioning for the uptown Fitchburg area. So all of this kind of the purple area would be included in the visioning, and then working with our partners from UW Health and Meriter who own this tracts of land here. And so we're really excited. We're working with a student by the name of Bree Stevens, and we had a steering committee meeting at Shine, our first corporate anchor here in uptown Fitchburg, a couple of weeks ago. And we've got a really robust steering committee, everybody from a representative from UW Health Real Estate, Meriter Unity Point Real Estate, Madison Gas and Electric is at the table. Angela serves on it from the Fitchburg Chamber. We've got a Shine representative. We've got some neighborhood representatives, and then Avante Properties. And we're hoping to just kind of do a refresh and an update of the vision for uptown Fitchburg. And Joyce, Brad, and I, Brad from our planning department, we had a chance to go see the kind of initial analysis by our student. We did that on Tuesday night. We went on campus and saw, she presented in front of her colleagues, and then they had 3 professors there that kind of provided some critique. So as we start to get information, we'll probably bring that to this group in January of next year, so you can kind of see the progress that we're making on it. The goal here is that on the back end of that process, when we finish up working with the student, kind of spring of May of 2024, that hopefully there are multiple development projects that we actually lead off with and get some projects in the ground, because one of the most frequent questions we get is, when are we going to see something in this uptown Fitchburg neighborhood after we invested in that Highway 14 Lacey Road interchange. So we're excited about the process, some really good dialogue and interaction among the steering committee members, and hopefully, again, it results in specific development projects moving forward to that. Then one other thing I just wanted to share is we've got a minor comp plan amendment that will be coming. There was a neighborhood meeting last night, and to my earlier comment about the need for some additional industrial land in Fitchburg, this would help us accomplish that goal. Lost my map here. Let's go. There it is.
Okay.
Is it up on the screen? No, you haven't shared it yet. Okay. How come it's not showing up in my... This is the one I want here.
Click on it first.
I did that.
Go back to
I did that. Oh, okay. There we go. Okay, I had it behind another screen there. So this is north of Lacey Road and west of Commerce Park Drive, which was just connected now to the newly reconstructed Lacey Road there. So Payne and Dolan, who owns these parcels right here, is planning to purchase the Hammersley property. That includes kind of the yellow, the green, and then kind of comes down this line right here, this property line. And so they're looking to, this would be their proposed amendment that they're bringing forward. Payne and Dolan held their informal neighborhood meeting last night, and then there's going to be a public hearing at the council meeting next week, Tuesday, on December 12th. And then it will go back to the Plan Commission on Tuesday, December 19th, because they made an amendment to their original proposal that went to the Plan Commission earlier. And then formal consideration and action by the council will be on February 13th, where there will be another public hearing. And part of the reason why the date gets extended out to February is because of that public notification and the timing of that for a public hearing. But as you can see here, this would bring us some kind of larger tracts of industrial general future land use, and that's something that we're in need of, our inventory, for some of the prospects and the inquiries that we get through both our state partner, the Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation, and then our regional partner, MadRep. So stay tuned for this one. Hopefully it gets support both back at the Plan Commission and then ultimately at the council at that February 13th meeting. And then the other thing that we'll be working on, hopefully if this progresses and goes forward, is we created 3 TID districts this year. It looks like we'll be doing another one in 2024. And so from Lacey Road here, where this would include this industrial land, all the way north to Cottonwood Drive, which is in the Fitchburg Commerce Park, just kind of south of where General Beverage is, we would look to create a new tax increment district specifically for this area. And it would be a rehabilitation district because quarries qualify as rehabilitation. So that would get us the maximum life of the TID at 27 years. And there is a potential project that is out there that I can't talk about yet, but hopefully come January or February, I'll be able to give you a preview of what that project is. But there is a project that is kind of a bird in hand of why we want to create the tax increment district in this area. We usually don't do kind of speculative ones where we create TID districts without knowing we at least have one project to kind of launch with. So stay tuned on that, but something really good for Fitchburg coming forward. And then lastly, I'll mention there's a couple of other development projects. I'm kind of giving a teaser here and a preview that hopefully in the first quarter of 2024, two more projects that we're working on that hopefully in the early part of next year we can share more details on. But again, all good things, even with the kind of uncertainty with construction costs and interest rates and those kind of pressures in the economy. We're still seeing projects coming forward and moving forward. We're fortunate that we've got some great partners in our community, development partners that are keeping projects going forward and kind of keeping our construction and development pipeline moving forward. And then the last thing on housing, we've got our 3 housing programs. Remember, we're on 3 tracks. The Efficiency Navigator program, that would be for upgrading some of that older kind of mom and pop, smaller multifamily housing stock. That's going to be going to the Housing Advisory Committee next week, Monday, on the 11th. And then we'll be launching, coming back to CEDA and Finance to kind of launch that program. So that would be one that is coming. Our affordable within market rate, this is the one that would be for the new Avalon apartment project that's under construction along Index Road. That's with our partners at Adventure Capital, Mike Thorson and Ned Hoyt. We're waiting to get an updated project pro forma from them. Things have changed so much again with the financing and the pro forma for the project, but also the median income levels in Dane County. So Ellers, who's going to do that review and analysis for us, our financial advisors, would like to get an updated project pro forma so we determine what is our kind of program model. So once we get that, then we'll bring that information both to the Housing Advisory Committee and to CEDA. So that's the second track. And then the third track, as you might recall, we were working on the potential rent-to-own townhome workforce endowment program, and we're still working with H&A. We just got an updated memo from them, and they've updated the model to reflect current kind of economic and construction and financing kind of parameters. So Joyce and I need to review that and vet that, and then we'll be sharing that internally with administration, legal, and finance, and then hopefully bringing that forward to this group to kind of share the most up-to-date and latest information to see if that's a program that we want to move forward with on a pilot program. So we're continuing to work all 3 of those tracks. And then the last thing I'll mention is in the 2024 budget, Mayor Julia included a housing position. So we'll be working with our personnel, HR team, to post that position and hopefully get some additional capacity that we'll be able to focus a little bit more time than Joyce and I are able to do on the different housing initiatives that we have, especially with that money that we have in the Affordable Housing Fund of approximately $8 million, and how do we deploy those resources for housing in our community. So we'll keep you posted on that. We may tap into one of you to serve on the interview committee when we have the position posted and as part of the recruitment, so stay tuned.
Okay.
You got anything else, Joyce?
Yeah, I just wanted to give a quick update on the business lunch. Thank you to all of you guys who were able to join us. It was a really good event. I want to give a shout out to Promega and especially Stephanie Shea, who worked really hard with us to make it a success, to Governor Evers, sorry.
It's a little early for
Governor Evers for being our keynote and making it so personal. I was really impressed with all the points that he made and his relationship back to Fitchburg, so it was great.
I just wanted to add, Fact TV, Jeremy, Scott, and his team with the videos that were produced. We're talking kind of Academy Award kind of videos there. Very impressive, and to do a 4-year review versus a 1-year was a significant amount of work for it. So thank you to their entire team for the production that they put together.
If I may, Jeremy Crosby, Fact TV manager, not manager. Scott Yarbrough is really the one who led the charge from our team on putting all that together. But Joyce, too. I mean, Joyce did a great job of pulling everything together. And the team at Promega is incredible. So, it's easy for us to go in there, do the setup, do the audio checks. They allowed us to come in early, so we were able to plan everything and make sure everything went well. So understatement on Promega. They're a great team to work with, so glad they're here. But either way, thanks.
And I would just reinforce what Jeremy said with Joyce. Normally, we have multiple months to plan and organize the event, but because of the timing and getting the commitment from Governor Evers as our keynote speaker, it was really condensed down to a month. And so the effort that went into it and some of the stress as part of it, kudos to Joyce to make everything seem seamless and a very successful event. So, and thanks again for everybody else's help and participation. It's great to be able to have that event back. It's hard to believe it was 4 years before we could bring it back, but we'll continue the tradition going forward now, annually.
Thank you. It was a very successful event. Mike or Joyce, anything else from your end?
Yeah, I have one more report.
That's right. Go ahead.
Hopefully I can get this one right. We received this month 2 site searches through MadRep. As Mike mentioned, we were able to respond to one of the 2 because the other one was looking for a large parcel, 65 to 100 acres. And we did spend some time putting together like an overview of the last 2 years' requests and whether or not we were able to respond. So good information moving forward as we go through these neighborhood plans, because it's really essential that we have not only land for new business recruitments, but we don't have enough land for our existing businesses. So any support we can get, we'd appreciate it.
And maybe at the January CETA meeting, we'll just bring an overview of those numbers as far as the number of inquiries we had and whether they were looking for buildings and or land, and then kind of the range of acreage. I think that's just helpful information for this group to have as decisions are made on future land use. I think that's it.
Okay, thank you very much. We will move on to the next item on the agenda, and I would like to introduce Angela Kinderman, President of the Fitchburg Visitor and Chamber, Fitchburg Chamber Visitor and Business Bureau. Did I get it right?
It's a mouthful, yeah.
Angela's going to give us an update on what's going on with the chamber.
Good morning, everybody. So I'm here to give our kind of 2023 wrap-up. The year went by quickly, as it always does. But we had a lot of great things happen this year. Sometimes when it moves so fast, we forget about all the things that we did throughout the year, so I'm here to remind you. But first, I'm going to just show you on your screen there the upcoming event, Holiday Lights Tour and Yuletide Jubilee. And I really want to give a shout out to Lisa Sanford from the city of Fitchburg. She has, oh boy, is this the third year? Third year, she started the Holiday Lights Tour. And we've been able to partner with her and Fact TV and kind of expand it this year. So it's a full weekend. Residents go all out in full lighting display. This is a video from last year. They are then submit their addresses, a map is created, and hundreds of people go on this holiday light tour. And Lisa has received really excellent feedback and appreciation for starting this event. This year we have expanded it to include a full weekend and holiday activities throughout the city of Fitchburg at our local businesses. So as you can see, you can go on the tour. You can then stop at a business and wrap up your gifts. You can learn how to make charcuterie cups at Altera Homes. You can learn how to make some holiday crafts at our new coffee shop, Tati. There's all kinds of holiday happy hour specials. You can have brunch with the Grinch at me and Julio's. You can hang out with Santa at the Fitchburg Fire Station. So I encourage everyone to share this this link on our website with all the information about all the things that you can do December 15th, 16th, and 17th in Fitchburg. Really get your festive and good cheer going. And again, thank you to Lisa and Fact TV for partnering with us on creating this event, making this event even bigger. Okay? And if you still want to, if you still want to include your residents in the light display, feel free to email Lisa, get on the map. But I think it'll be a good time. Okay, so...
Angela, real quick, I have a
yeah.
question. In terms of publicizing this event, where are you guys advertising it and getting the word out?
Social media. There are ads in the Fitchburg Star, the Verona Press, and the Oregon Observer. The city of Fitchburg sends out emails. We had a press release a couple weeks ago. It was picked up by In Business, the Isthmus. Destination Madison has it on their website.
DMI, Downtown Madison Inc.?
Destination Madison,
Okay.
that's the CVB,
Yeah,
not
okay.
DMI.
Not DMI?
No.
Okay. They would probably post this if you,
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
you ask them.
So anywhere that there's kind of where, for example, Destination Madison has a whole page of different holiday lights or holiday events going on, we're included there. So there was a press release a couple weeks ago. If you don't get our press releases, please shoot me an email. Happy to get you on the list. If you don't receive our visitor newsletters, which includes this information, which I'll talk about in a bit, let me know. We'll get you looped in.
Okay.
Or if you have any other ideas about where you want us to market, happy to do so.
Let's go for it.
Mark, if I may, clarification too, we interviewed Brandon from the Chamber as well to preview the event on Fact TV. So we've got a daily newscast for the city of Fitchburg called Talking Fitchburg. So we've had it on there and continue to promote it through there. And the city has multiple ways of sending information out to, so through all the social media accounts. About 30, I think we've said about 30 different ways that we try to communicate out. So it's being pushed on, I think, a higher level this year with the partnership of the Chamber. I think that's what we're getting, a bigger response.
Yeah.
Note it is out there.
Yeah, and I can give you contact info for the DMI people.
Oh,
They'll
great.
post it.
Sure.
And then also, First Weber does a What to Do This Weekend blog post. I can share that
Absolutely, yeah.
with them.
That would be great.
Well, this should be a great event. Oh, go ahead.
You know, social media, love it or hate it, it's probably our biggest and most effective tool. So if you reluctantly are on Facebook, I would encourage you to follow Visit Fitchburg. And that's where pretty much everything event related in our community is posted. And then, of course, it links to our website and our newsletters. Alrighty. So then we'll just kind of jump in. As a reminder, our office is tasked with tourism, marketing, and promotion. We work in 3 different areas to accomplish those goals. Brand extension, that is making sure the brand of Fitchburg is extended beyond our borders so that people know us and who we are and want to come here, visit, and spend their dollars. Leisure development, that includes sponsoring or supporting different leisure activities, all of the events that we are either partners with or help produce or sponsor that go on throughout the year. And then corporate development. Obviously, a lot of tourism economic impact is derived from businesses hosting conferences or other events here in Fitchburg. And so we provide support in a variety of ways for that. We might provide a grant to a business hosting a conference or a meeting or a user group here that's staying in our hotels. We might provide welcome gifts to companies that want to welcome a group to Fitchburg. And so that's another way in kind of the corporate area. We do some marketing with CETA, with Mike and Joyce, to attract new business to Fitchburg. And that's kind of how we work in that area. I'll just give you a couple of examples as we move through. First, I'd like to say 2023, we had, like I mentioned, a lot going on. Several of our events or a couple of just highlights that I'd like to point out. We do a Bike the Bird campaign launching in May each year. It goes through the summer. We essentially encourage people to ride 150 miles. Some people like to ride 150,000 miles, Andy Potts. I'm thinking we're going to have a special T-shirt for that rider. But it's been a really fun campaign to launch and continue each year, and it has tripled in participation. We have two major sponsors, Fitchburg Family Pharmacy and Shine Technologies, who also organize rides throughout the summer for people to come and ride together. We create Bike the Berg t-shirts that people proudly order and just wear throughout the summer. And then we tie that campaign to other events. So this year we tied it to the opening of the launch of the first phase of B-Cycle, which was a big deal for our community. And we work with our partners at Bike Fitchburg for other organized rides or meetups. And so that campaign, we were really excited to have that triple in participation. And then we even have some ideas for 2024 to grow it even more. So if you don't join Bike the Berg, you should. It doesn't cost anything, and unless you want a t-shirt. And it just really encourages people to get out there and ride. And then it also helps promote our community and the things that we can do when we're out riding our bikes in Fitchburg. Obviously, B-Cycle, we can't forget about B-Cycle, a big lift for everybody that was involved in that, the city, the chamber, the Bike Fitchburg group, the bike committee at the city. First phase was launched in, I think, early May, and then now we have the second phase. And it's impressive when you look at the amount of B-Cycle stations that we have in Fitchburg now. It's impressive when you look at the rider activity, and it's also impressive at just the feedback that we've gotten in terms of the appreciation of having that resource in our city. So thank you to everybody here involved. And we plan to do more things in 2024 centered around that community asset. The Agora Art Fair was off the chart this year. Always it's a great event, but this year kudos to Steve Leverins. It's hard when we do our recap to think how in the world are we going to top that one. But it was really a fantastic event this year. One of the things that we help coordinate is, and you'll see this next fall, but we have a partnership with Madison Public Art, and it is a public art display that they pay the artist to create, and we started working with them in 2022. There will be a public art display called Wildflowers of Wisconsin at McKee Farms Park for a full year, and for the last year and a half, there have been public participation events creating that art. And so at the art fair, there was several tables, and people were creating the art that will be displayed. I don't want to give too much away, but it's kind of a big deal, and it was really a great partnership. And so that's in September of this year. It'll be at McKee Farms Park. There'll be a big launch party, but a really neat and thoughtful organization. They chose Wildflowers of Wisconsin specifically to reflect kind of the natural resources and prairies that we have in Fitchburg here. So I hope everybody can attend that event. Next this year was we hosted and sponsored our first pickleball tournament. I think we had over 250 players. It was the Kappa Cup, partnership with the Capital Area Pickleball Association. They did a great job. We're working on securing the event again for 2024 and growing it with the addition of our 4 courts that will be added in 2024. I'm not sure when in 2024. But obviously you can't go anywhere without hearing about pickleball. It certainly is an attraction that generates economic impact, and it also is an attraction that generates that sense of community and connection. So we're happy to be involved with that. And then in terms of corporate development this year, we hosted a couple of things that we were really proud of, and they were ag tourism conferences. Specifically, one group was from the University of Tennessee. They had people from all over the country, including Puerto Rico. We used Fitchburg as the hub of their event or their week-long tour, and they spent the week touring ag facilities or ag tourism facilities in south central Wisconsin. That was really successful. People had a great time. We had a really good partnership with Staybridge Suites for hosting that event. We've also partnered with the Wisconsin Department of Tourism and Ag Tourism. So we have several things on deck next year in that arena to, again, Fitchburg is ideally situated to be kind of the home base for those kind of things. We have so many assets, not only in Fitchburg, but in the surrounding region. And so that was a significant impact for our community economic-wise, and we intend to have a few more of those ag tourism-related events and conferences next year. Any questions so far?
I do, Angela.
Go for
Hey,
it,
did you work with the DNR on their conference?
No, so,
Because when I talked to them, they weren't sure if they were staying in this area
I
or just
didn't-
coming through for a day.
oh, I did not. No.
Okay, I was just curious.
But
I'm gonna
connections,
follow
yeah.
up on that then.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I think what people should know, and please do share our contact information, we don't just help them, with connections and hotel reservations and stuff. We can actually provide grant money to help them produce a really nice conference. And so if they're coming here and they're booking significant blocks of hotel rooms and they're spending significant dollars at our restaurants or our catering facilities or other activities in Fitchburg, we want to help them and support them financially to make sure that they have a great experience and to make sure they're repeat customers. So I really encourage you, whether it's a business, an association, if people are planning events and you think we might be a good match, just connect them to me. And, I'd like to say we're kind of like a concierge service for Fitchburg in that arena. And if we can do something to make them have a great experience, we will. Okay. Any more questions? No?
Okay, well,
I'm not done, Mark.
oh, I'm sorry.
Do you want me to be
You
done?
said any more questions? I was.
Those were just some highlights. I'll quickly run through this outline because you can read this yourself. But there's a lot of ways that we operate. Obviously, a lot of it is marketing, advertising, promotion. And so these are just some examples of the partnerships and the promotions that we do. We have co-op advertising opportunities with Travel Wisconsin. Obviously, we have partnerships with Destination Madison. We participated in three campaigns with Destination Madison last year. Their Madison by Bike, and that actually was picked up on that particular campaign was picked up nationally in a lot of different resources. It highlighted a trail in Fitchburg and places that you can stop. Madison on Tap highlights the craft brewing in our region. So Destination Madison is obviously a key partner of ours to help promote what's going on in Fitchburg and the region. We update regional websites with all of our Fitchburg events. Over 17, as you can imagine, this takes a little bit of time. So kudos to my marketing director, Catherine. She spends a lot of time making sure websites that we can update with all of our Fitchburg events. So they might be the Isthmus or, there's parenting websites, the Visit Madison websites, the Visit Wisconsin websites. So if you go out there, you'll find Fitchburg information. That's because of our organization and the work that we do to collect it and then promote it. We do some print ads, not a lot, but we make sure that we're in the Bike Federation guide, the ride guide each year. That's a popular ride guide. People use that, especially bikers are pretty dedicated to that publication, so we have a presence there. We do advertise in our local papers. We've expanded to not only include the Fitchburg Star, but Oregon Observer and the Verona Press. Obviously, we have residents that are affiliated with the school districts in Oregon and Verona. It makes a lot of sense for us to have a presence there. Let's see. I mentioned the meetings in Fitchburg, the room block assistance that we talked about. We have a lot of events that go on in Fitchburg. I'm going to highlight just a few. Obviously, I think hopefully everybody has attended a concert at McKee. June, July, and August, we host free concerts, and I think Fitchburg should be really proud of these three events. They're really nice community events that are completely free for people to attend. We use sponsorship dollars to bring in bands that normally you might pay $10, $20, $15, $30 to see. So we aren't just using local bands, not that there's anything wrong with that. We want to make sure that a couple of things. We want to make sure that the bands and the music reflect the diversity of our community. We want to make sure that it is something that people feel special and welcome when they're attending. And we, like I mentioned, we want to make sure it's completely free. And so when you look around at concerts at McKee, and we have over 1,000 people last year at all 3 concerts, it really is authentically diverse and inclusive, and that's been intentional on our part. And so we hope that people are very proud of those events, and I think people really are appreciative of them. Concerts at McKee, obviously I mentioned Agora Art Fair, the Fitchburg Festival of Speed. Another event that is incredibly popular that brings people in from all over the world, that takes place right here in Fitchburg at the Conzemius Barn, is called Midwest Gypsy Swing Fest. If you haven't attended, and you enjoy that type of music, it is really a lot of fun. It's usually a 2-day or a weekend-long event. We help them with hotels for some of their musicians who, again, are coming in from other countries. But it's a really unique event, and it's very popular, and it kind of flies a little under the radar if you're not connected with Gypsy Swing, but it is something that you might want to take a look at. It's a lot of fun. And then, of course, I mentioned the Holiday Lights Tour that's happening. There's a lot of other events that go on that we help promote and market, but those are just a few of our highlights. I think that's a bit. Oh, well, we did have some corporate sponsorship. We sponsored the Stem Cell Symposium, the International Forum on Consciousness. We were sponsors with the Mackenzie Workforce Center with Move for Boys and Girls Club. And then we also have, obviously, a big role in community engagement with different groups. As I mentioned, B-Cycle, Madison Public Art, essentially we have our hands in a little bit of everything. But that's a good thing. We want, like I said, we want to be considered a concierge service to Fitchburg. If we can't help you, we can usually connect you with somebody that can, and we take that role seriously. So that's all I got. If you have not signed up for our Visit Fitchburg newsletter, there's links there on the bottom. Monthly, and we have over 4,000. This is different from the Chamber newsletter. We have over 4,000 subscribers from all over, not just Fitchburg, but the region in a kind of a 5-state area. It's a monthly newsletter. Here's an example. It'll be coming, I think came out today. And it usually has upcoming events and activities in Fitchburg, a couple blog posts on like ideas of what you can do when you're visiting. And then, of course, we highlight our hotels. Again, if you have any questions or need help getting connected to any of the information here today, just shoot us an email or give us a buzz. Okay, that's it.
Questions of Angela?
I just have one, Angela. On Friday at Four Wind Farms, is it a holiday market?
Okay, so you can do something like every single second this weekend.
Yeah.
On Friday from 4 to 9 I shouldn't say 4 to 9. Go to 4 to 8. There's a holiday market at Four Winds Farm. They do want you to register in advance. We think the attendance is going to be off the charts. You'll basically get a ticket that gives you the time frame to attend. On Saturday night, Four Winds Farms has a holiday blues dance, so you can kick up your heels from 5 to 8, I think it is. They'll have cocktails, and so it's basically holiday music. It's going to be basically a barn dance. Also quite a lot of fun. So, yep.
Well, thank you, Angela. The Chamber is certainly very active and engaged in leading our city forward, and we appreciate the work that you do, particularly your staff as well, Angela, so thank you. Moving on the agenda, we're next going to introduce a lady named Helen Bradley, who's the general manager for B-Cycle of Madison, but I want to tee this up a little bit. 5 years ago, I had lunch with Mike and Angela and had an idea to bring B-Cycles to Fitchburg, and they told me it was not time for it, and they were right. So I give them kudos for that, but this has been a labor of love to get this in, and I want to thank CETA for supporting this, our city leaders, the Chamber, and most importantly, as Helen, I turn the floor over to Helen. She was, as Joyce said, Destination Madison just gave her a Leadership Distinguished Achievement Award last week, Joyce, is that right?
Yep.
So we're in the presence of someone who's been a visionary, and as we put 100 bikes out here in Fitchburg this year, we're going to go to greater things in 2025. So I want to thank everybody for helping this happen. It was our business leaders, our city leaders, our chamber, and individuals through Trek. So Helen, the floor is yours.
Good morning. Thank you so much for that introduction, Mark. Yes, and I echo everything Angela said and Mark said. So we very much value our relationship with the city of Fitchburg, CETA, the bike committee, the chamber, everyone that's been a part of helping get B-Cycle to Fitchburg. I know the process started long before I was with the company. I'm just so happy that we could finally get this across the finish line and now see what it's like to have B-Cycle in your community and the impact that it can make. I think the results truly speak for themselves. So I do have a PowerPoint that I'd like to share. And for those of you that were on the bike committee meeting, this is information that you've already heard, so bear with me. But hopefully you'll hear some maybe new snippets of information. And feel free to stop me if you have any questions along the way. All right, so this is just a quick reminder of kind of where we started and where we've come. When I started in June of 2020, shortly thereafter, I was hopping on a bike with Phil and Lee Jones and Mark and Tony, and that was around September, I think, 2020, and we started really diving into the conversation about getting B-Cycle in Fitchburg. We brought some of our e-bikes out to do the route, and just kind of really preparing ourselves for what it could feel like to have the program in the city. So fast forward to 2023, and we started installing. So within a relatively short period of time, we went from the vision to actually executing and getting this program launched. So really excited and these were some of the first stations as part of kind of our phase 1 project out at McKee Farms and the Limerick here. To kind of piggyback on everything Angela and her team are doing, we've had so much great publicity with getting B-Cycle in Fitchburg, and not only for us, for the city, for all the efforts that the chamber is doing, for the investment that the city has made in the program, all positives. We've helped support a number of events. We've attended the ribbon cutting ceremony at Agora, the Bike the Berg Challenge. We were happy to be able to be part of that this year, with allowing folks to hop on a B-Cycle if they didn't have their own. So there's just so many great ways that we can now fully engage with one another in these types of campaigns and just continue to spread the word and the awareness about the program. Just a little history here as well. So like I mentioned, I started in June of 2020, and just for some perspective, this kind of shocked me actually when I was looking at it. If you look at the right-hand side, that's our station map as of July 2021. That's what the system looked like for 10 years. So we didn't see a lot of growth. But when I came in, there's just so many great opportunities that we wanted to look into. And then if you compare the map on the left side, 2023, we've added 48 new stations since 2020. And just in the last year alone, we've added 27 stations. So we are now operating, as you know, in Fitchburg. We're in Monona. We also have a station in McFarland. And then we've really filled in along the isthmus, the corridor downtown. And we continue to have conversations. Once we get stations in cities like Fitchburg and we grow those partnerships, we tend to see a lot of interest peaked now at surrounding cities. So nothing is off the table at this point. We're just excited to see the growth and the connectivity now of our system with Fitchburg and the south side of Madison. It really is filled in nicely. Also wanted to mention our campaign that we helped support, as Angela mentioned, the Madison by Bike campaign that was put on by Destination Madison. This is just another example of how we can partner on these types of campaigns in the future. This one particularly was very successful and is still running today, and will run through next summer. So Destination Madison put together kind of like a gaming system. And if you're new to town, if you're a tourist, or if you've lived here your whole life, if you're looking for new routes to take on your bike, you can just download this app, type in which one you'd like to go to, and then they give you all of these great starting and stopping points, and then you get points for checking into each one. So the one I want to highlight here is obviously the Cannonball Loop, which recommends starting at the B-Cycle station at the Wyndham Garden Hotel, riding along the Cannonball Path, and then through the Dolly Conservancy and the Arboretum before ending with maybe a brew or bite from one of Fitchburg's eateries. And they have a whole list of places that Angela and her team have put together to help support. So really cool campaign, and within the first week alone, we saw 1,000 signups. So Angela, I'm sure you've seen updated numbers since then, but I can only imagine it's grown significantly since. And not only did we add stations in Fitchburg, but we've also been pretty busy growing our system in other areas. So like I mentioned, 27 new stations this year. Starting at the top of the list, we did add the 7 stations for Fitchburg Phase 1. We also added a privately funded system or station at the village of Shorewood Hills, at Sequoia Library to help increase our footprint and our reach for the Community Pass program that we have. Madison TAP as well. They were eligible and received funding for the TAP grant, so we're working with them. The City of Madison also helped support pouring concrete pads for us because we had some extra equipment to use. So we were able to put some more stations down through that. And then obviously the Fitchburg TAP, and the university continues to be a wonderful supporter of our program. And we've added a new 21 dock station at the new Baki Center, the new wellness center on campus. If you're not familiar with, it's incredible. So this number, that we have seen significant growth. So this is our trips this year compared to last. So the black line is 2023, the red is 2022. This chart really speaks for itself. We ended last year at 308,000 trips. Today we are at 506,000 trips. So it's something of close to 60%, 70% growth in just 1 year. And that is just by adding all of those new stations. We've added 150 bikes to our fleet, but it also, I think, comes with all of the awareness that we've been creating. People see the bikes out on the street more and more now and get curious about it, and they want to learn more about it. So we do have a huge population of students on UW's campus that continue to ride, and they will until the day that we close the system for the season because it's their main option for transportation. But we also see a lot of people using this for commuting purposes. And I thought it was important to kind of share as well. So all the numbers are very sparkly and wonderful, and we're super proud of it. But also I think it's important to remember, if we had this big of a system and the bikes didn't come out of the docks and the stations weren't balanced and the batteries were dead, people would not use the system. They would give up pretty quickly. And I wanted to highlight my team. So this is an internal scorecard that we have that kind of keeps us accountable for certain metrics. And the systems that you'll see here are the other 10 B-Cycle owned systems, and you'll see Madison at the top of the list. We have consistently achieved high levels on this scorecard for keeping our bike counts, our active bike fleet numbers up. We have Great Places to Work survey score of a 97%. We get survey results from riders on how we're doing. And then also trips per bike per day. So we, on the last slide you maybe saw, we were at 4 trips per bike per day on average. And a good, well-used bike share program will reach for 3. So we've averaged 4 throughout the year. And months like September, I think our average was 8 trips per bike per day. So pretty significant. And I just really want to give my team a huge shout out for maintaining a world-class operations and helping keep the system working the way it should. This is just a heat map of kind of, the where we've come to where we are now. Again, if you look on the right side, this is 2022. So this is before we had any stations in Fitchburg. And again, like I mentioned, we ended that year at 308,000 trips. If you look on the left-hand side, that's our 2023 heat map. And you can just absolutely see the densification of rides throughout Fitchburg. People are using the system. People are using the system to get to Madison. People are riding to McFarland. It's really cool to see just how much that has filled in. And I have a little bit more information on that as well. In terms of station utilization, so this is just a quick chart to see which stations are most used. And it comes as no surprise that all of the stations that we installed earlier in the year obviously are seeing a lot heavier trips. The ones that we are installing for TAP will come. They will definitely see their time. It'll just take a little bit. They had a really short season with a lot of the delays in permitting and things like that. So we anticipate next year to continue to see those numbers go up. But all in all, we've seen just over 5,000 checkouts from Fitchburg, and that is pretty significant for the first year and not even a full year. I mean, we're talking, I think the first station went in, there was still snow on the ground, so we'll say it was maybe end of March, April, and then it was kind of a slow progression right up until a month ago. I think we installed the last one. So continue to see those numbers. We still have quite a few stations to add for TAP, and I'll continue to share updates there. And then finally, this is a different way of viewing that heat map. Specifically, these bubbles show all trips that start or end in Fitchburg. Of course, I'm not sure where the Lake Mendota bubble came from. There's always an outlier on these things. But hopefully that's not a bike sitting in Lake Mendota. But the round trip routes, the most popular round trip routes are the Wyndham Hotel, which is great to see, McKee Farms Park, and Oak Bank. So those are people that are hopping on a bike, maybe doing a loop, running their errands, whatever, and then coming back to that same station. Top one-way routes that were pretty surprising to me were Oak Bank to Observatory Drive and Charter, which if you're not familiar, that's on campus at UW. Oak Bank to South Breeze and Camp Randall, right by Camp Randall Stadium. And then Terra Vesa to Willie and Jenny Street, which is in the Willie Atwood neighborhood. And we also have seen pretty significant trips from Fitchburg to the Madison Truex campus. So it's really cool to see that people are really using this to commute, is what I can assume from that. But really great trip ridership. People are riding all over the place, which again, Angela, this is great news for us. These bikes are just riding advertisements. So for the sponsors that invested in this program, their ads are now being seen throughout the greater Madison area. And hopefully they see that that's a worthwhile investment, and we can continue kind of building on that as we go forward. So that is all I've got.
Questions for Helen? Angela? There you go.
Helen, does Madison College at the end of Sales Park, do they have B-cycle stations?
Yep, they're Goodman campus. We just installed one earlier this spring.
Is there a route that's trail-wise that you can get there from?
I think it would be the Badger Road to over the bridge over the Beltline.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
I don't remember what that one's called.
I'll try and help with that. It's a roundabout way, and you got to end up on Badger Road. You can come across the Beltline by the auto dealerships there, but then you've got to go east. Or you can go all the way to the west over to Alliant, or the east and come back. But anyway, you got to deal with Badger Road.
Yeah, you
Right
can take
now.
the one at there's one over by like Ski Lane. There's that bridge that you could take as well.
That's true, yeah.
I asked because we have been asked to look at providing kind of illustrative maps from certain neighborhoods to certain educational facilities. So looking for safe,
Okay.
other than riding
Yeah.
down the Beltline.
An FYI,
Right.
Angela, we do have a station at McKenzie Training Center. So there's a way to get people going over there.
Mark?
Yes, Randy?
A question I have, back to the one slide with the graph. I don't know if you can go back, or maybe we don't need to, but there were some interesting numbers. Have you done some initial research as to why some outweigh other locations other than some being newer and some are more recent? I mean, there's just some interesting numbers, and I'm very impressed. And I mean, if we could capitalize on the reasons for some of the locations being much more, I'll say, successful than others, maybe we could use that going forward as we expand, or hopefully we will expand B-Cycle.
Yeah, I think it all has to do with where people live and where people want to go. And if you look kind of, maybe the Limerick is a good example, Terravesa, they're still seeing really great ridership numbers, and we all know, like, they're out there. The one thing that they definitely have going for them is a safe bike, a bike path to hop on. So people really, when they're looking at riding B-Cycle, a lot of them are first-time riders, or people that have not ridden a bike in a very long time. So in order for them to feel comfortable hopping on a B-Cycle, they need to know that they have a route that they can take that isn't going to be riding alongside the road with car traffic. So it's really important for us to make sure that wherever we're locating stations, that there is that safe route option. And then also the densification of urban areas mixed with some rural. We try to really look at that, and we've worked a lot with Mark and Angela and Phil from the city and Mike to really focus on those areas where we think people will truly utilize the program. So it's not a perfect science by any means, but we do our best to kind of, based on the information that we're provided.
I think, if I can just add, Helen, when we were citing the stations, something that I had never had occurred to me, but the B-Cycle team continued to remind us, and if you look at the numbers, it just proves this, is people often drive to a station, park their car, and then do their activity on the B-Cycle. And if you look at every one of these we cited in a place that had parking, such as retail or the hotel parking lot. We talked with all those vendors or landowners, but these really tell the story of how they're using the B-Cycle, I think. Also citing places like the Oak Bank Center, that kind of surprised me, but in the other it really doesn't. It's probably our most visible station when you think of the traffic going by on McKee. And then there's also things to do there. You can grab a coffee, you can grab lunch, you can, so that makes a lot of sense. But having stations that are visible and allow for potential parking, which I know seems counterproductive as we're biking, but it's important.
Well, that's a great point, because I would have never have guessed Oak Bank. I just assumed people go in, do their business, and drive off, and why would I jump on a bike? And obviously, at least that thought of mine is wrong.
Yeah.
So we need to certainly
Yeah.
keep that in mind going forward. These are.
Randy, just a point for your district. As they look at expansion in 2024, Stoner Prairie has asked several times.
Sure.
And we suggested to them, get your plan put together for what your use up there, and then they're on the list. We want to put something over by Hop House eventually.
Yeah.
We've got 6 or 8 others that are going to come online. But I want to point out from a business side for this group, the Limerick, the gentleman who supported he was one of our original supporters. The Limerick gives free passes to their residents, so they can hop on those bikes anytime. And I think you're going to see more of that. I think the council, Randy, supported giving library passes this coming year as an experiment. Madison does that. They give free passes to the library. So again, this is a community service that has diversity and inclusion, as well as sitting around some of our more populated business
Well,
areas.
and to that point, I wish I would have had this information prior to that vote at council. So I understand your subtle remark there, but it was a great learning experience for me, and I'm pleased now to know that did pass.
Yeah.
And
Well,
didn't hold that
again,
up.
I was serious. For those of you who don't know, I'm also on the bike committee with Andy Potts, and we've been involved in this literally for almost 5 years, before Helen was here. And the thing Helen didn't say, once COVID hit and Madison Trek or B-Cycle converted to the e-bikes, it made it better to move into Fitchburg.
Yeah.
So there were some changes made in the model as well. But as I said, we're paying attention to every spot. We've had other people ask, but we got to make sure you can park. You just can't plant it in the middle of a field and have people use it. But we'll track this, and Helen has promised to keep us updated, as well as to, if there's new things that come up, we'll take a look at it. Or we may have to move some of these that
Yeah.
don't get used. So,
Some of it could be trial and error, but very impressive. Thank you. Thank you,
Mark.
Helen.
yeah, thank you. Any other questions of Helen?
Oh, Mark,
Oh, I'm sorry.
a comment too on the Oak Bank one, since I live with it. You also live within walking distance of it.
Right.
One thing I've noticed is just talking to my neighbors on Osmondson, that a lot of them walk over there. So I think that is also part of the success too, is there's just a decent populace of
Sure.
residences
Yeah, I would
right
agree.
there.
Yeah.
I mean, I know just from talking to my neighbors that they'll walk over, grab a B-cycle bike. The two of them they'll ride down to like the Henry Viola Zoo, spend a few hours there, grab another B-cycle and come back. I think they were using it enough that they actually just went out and bought bikes, which
Well,
kind
there's
of in
some
some ways
incentive
self-defeating,
there,
but I mean they're.
It happens.
But yeah, I think they realized how much they were enjoying it, that they've actually just kind of taken the plunge and made the financial investment in a bike themselves.
I think the other key way.
I think another big
ahead,
part
Joe.
of it is that it's very proximate to two large trails. So anybody who's planning on taking like a longer ride, probably that would appeal to them. So that's probably part of the reason why it's so heavily used.
Well, then that goes back to the Hop House. I mean, it's right there with the trail.
Well, and Joe Maldonado that just spoke, he lives east, his district, part of his district is east of, or west of Verona Road. We're trying to figure out where we can put something over there next summer. It's not done yet, but it's on the radar screen to, again, get the whole city, and particularly get people who may not be able to go out and buy a brand new bike. We've got other programs in the city too about free bikes for kids, et cetera. So we're trying to you look at all these visits, these are people that didn't use their car for something, hopefully. So, some of them at least.
I have a question. Helen,
Yes.
do you have demographics on who's using the bikes? Is there any way to collect that data?
Yeah, great question. We actually just sent out we do an annual member survey, and that is the time that we are able to collect demographics. So I will have, and that will be shared with the city and all of the partners once we compile the data. So anticipate having that type of information right at the beginning of the new year. We'll share, where people live, age, household income, education is on there. So we get a lot of really good information from our riders.
Yes, Mike?
On the west side of Verona Road, we've got the developer that's working on a comprehensive development plan for the quarry site there, the Shea property, coming to town on the 13th to give us an update on his planning. So they may be some future partners there as development starts to take shape on that side of Verona Road.
Just keep us in the loop as this. You can run that back to the bike committee, and we'll go back to Helen that way, so.
Okay.
Thanks. Other questions, comments about Helen's presentation or about B-Cycle? Okay, well, Helen, thank you very much. Get all the bikes repaired when you take them out next week, and let's get hope for an early spring.
Yes, agreed. Thank you. Yes, and thanks for bringing that up. So we will be closing for the winter next week, Friday, the 15th, as we do every year. So we'll be busy overhauling the bikes, making sure that the stations continue to be maintained. And yeah, we'll be working hard in the off season. So thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you, Helen. Have a nice rest of your holiday. Moving on to the agenda, we're to the announcements portion. Do any members of the committee have announcements you'd like to make? Mandy?
I do not have an announcement. But I do want to mention that last evening, Mike Z touched upon it earlier regarding the comp amendment for Payne and Dolan and Hammersley. Last evening there was a neighborhood meeting. Representatives from Payne and Dolan were present. They put together the meeting, and it was well attended. Probably, I'd have to say about 25 residents from Quarry Vista. They're the ones, the residents that have the concern about some of the things that are being brought forward. Payne and Dolan has made a number of adjustments to what they're bringing forward, and I think the biggest concern was green space, buffer between the subdivision and what's going to be developed, possible berms. But I think from the discussion, Payne and Dolan and the residents are kind of in agreement now that a lot of that geographical area to provide that buffer they're going to try work very hard with the residents to preserve it. So I think overall it was a positive meeting, and the residents walked away understanding, and there's somewhat of an agreement. So overall, it was very, very, very worthwhile to have that neighborhood meeting, which we probably should have had early on. Yeah.
Thank you, Randy.
Thank you.
Anything else?
I've got one.
Yes, Michael. Oops, I heard.
Can I just do a follow-up question to Randy?
Yes.
Has there been any discussion since the Quarry Ridge Mountain Bike Park is immediately north of there? And I saw on kind of the map that Mike had presented that there was going to be sort of a green corridor. Has there been any discussion of connecting into that trail network?
Well, and that was a big portion of it. They want to maintain that continuity from what you're describing all the way south, and then even into Stoner Prairie South. So, yes to your answer. Yeah.
Okay. Mike?
And I forgot to mention one other business that's
Go ahead.
open, and that is Seminole Tap is open for food and beverage there in the Oak Bank kind of retail center there in the former Funk space. So please stop by and check out that new place that's now open.
Yes. Been open about 2 or 3 weeks now. So.
All right, I've got one.
Yes, Joe?
I'm sure Valerie Zisman will yell at me for this, but there is a Luna's toy drive for the holiday. As you may know, the store distributes gifts to kids in the neighborhood. Probably about 500-600 gifts and probably 1,200 books. So if you care to donate, you can bring toys to the store anytime before December 23rd.
Okay. Thank you very much, Joe. Anything else? Well, before we move to adjournment, it's the end of the year, and I think that we've heard a lot of summary things today, and what Mike and Joyce have done have continued to provide excellent leadership and servitude to this committee. And the 40-year event was extremely well done, and even though it was short, thank you. Jeremy, you folks in Fact TV, thank you for supporting us and getting us through this. All the committee members for your service. Andy is serving as interim chair, and wherever you're sitting now, I don't know. But anyway, thank you for your time, and I will do the best I can to support this committee. If you've got any questions or issues, feel free to reach out to me. But I think this is a group that's doing good things for our city. I think it comes back to our leadership we're getting from our city folks and people like Angela to move all this forward. So I will wish you all a happy holiday, whatever you celebrate. And I will wish you, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved, and that a second or a move, Joe?
Move.
Okay.
Then I'll do the second.
All right, moved by Joe and seconded by Randy. So all those in favor of ending the meeting signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Well, thank you, and we'll see you January 25th, next meeting. Thank you, folks.
Thanks, everybody.